Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon, and I'm pleased to inform you that the Loli must stay. The Loli must stay. We're going to talk about Cyberpunk 2077 or Cyberpunk Edgerunners, the anime. And apparently one of the young female producers working at CD Projekt Red wanted Studio Trigger to remove the character of Rebecca because she's like, nah, it's really problematic. We can't have this character. And Studio Trigger told her to get bent, basically. They're like, no, the Loli must stay. This character must stay. She's going to be incredibly popular. And she has been incredibly popular. And we're going to talk about this situation because we actually did talk quite a bit about Cyberpunk 2077. We did some gameplay of Cyberpunk 2077 when it was first released, and it was a freaking disaster. But now the game is actually picking up sales again because of the anime being so popular, and a big reason for that is because of Rebecca. She's a petite woman. She is not a Loli. She is not a Loli, but the Loli must stay, even if she were. So we're going to talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. Over 275, almost 276,000 subs. Thank you for the support. Go out to clownfishtv.com for more pop culture news you don't find here on YouTube. And speaking of support, let me hit refresh on this. Crimson Wren, wow, we jumped up a couple $1,000s. Crimson Wren Volume 1 from Clownfish Studios. No Lolis. These are actual kids, but nothing bad goes on. They go on an adventure. That's all they're doing. So we have 5 days left on the IGG campaign for this. Here are some unlettered sample pages for you. This book just has to be lettered and printed yet. That's what we're waiting on. It's some beautiful stuff from Jose Garcia. We've been waiting 10 years to tell you this story. Geeky came up with the story. I helped with the script, but it's pretty good stuff. If you like Shadowbinders, this is definitely the prequel to Shadowbinders, but it's also a self-contained story. It's going to be broken up into 2 books. Each book's going to be about 130 to 144 pages. So it's a pretty lengthy story, but I think you guys will like it, especially if you like manga and anime. So let's talk about manga and anime. Rebecca is a petite woman. She's not a Loli. But apparently this offended one of CD Projekt Red's people. Now, this is kind of everything wrong with the gaming industry right now and the anime industry right now. We talk about how young Western activists get into these companies and they want to change what Japan is producing. And, I can understand if it was a bridge too far, I guess. But in this case, I'm looking at this character. I see like Harley Quinn. I don't see Loli, but even the voice actress for the English version has an older sounding voice. But the character's popular, and it's actually selling a shit ton of games, helping sell some games for CD Projekt Red, so they need to shut these people down. They've infiltrated Sony, they've infiltrated different manga publishers, and I'm going to talk a little bit about Square Enix here having to walk it back. They did this ridiculous black bar censorship crap. But let's talk about this. This is coming from thegamer.com, and I think they're a little disappointed. Studio Trigger refused to redesign Rebecca. In Cyberpunk Edgerunners, the Loli must stay. CDPR does think that Rebecca is best girl. However, Studio Trigger, amazing animation studio, by the way, the creators of Cyberpunk Edgerunners dismissed CD Projekt Red's concerns over the character of Rebecca. In a live stream, a producer from CDPR admitted that Rebecca's design, which is particularly childlike, caused issues during Edgerunners production. It probably didn't. It was probably like 3 or 4 activists working at CD Projekt Red. They're like, we don't like this. Studio Trigger nevertheless decided to stick to its original image. According to the CDPR developer, the studio went as far as saying the Loli must stay when someone from the company voted for her to be removed from the anime altogether. Despite this, it appears both teams are on the same page now, with the devs saying that Rebecca is best girl. We'll watch. This is this is kind of embarrassing, and this is exactly what's going on in comics right now. It's exactly what's going on in manga and anime right now. And again, it's usually younger activist women that want to change everything, and she's laughing now, but yeah, Studio Trigger told her to get bent. Basically, we're not taking the character out. She's best girl, the dev said during an Edgerunners watch party, which took place just before the anime hit on Netflix. But I feel a bit guilty to say it because I was one of the people on the creative team to actually vote Rebecca out of the original cast during pre-production. Going into further detail, it's revealed why the Cyberpunk 2077 developer was apprehensive about the character. CD Projekt Red first got the character design for Rebecca, and they were like, she's a Loli. Lolis don't exist in Night City. It doesn't fit the Cyberpunk 2077 aesthetic. But Trigger was like, no, the Loli must stay. Let's watch this clip here.
And we actually talked about it a little bit before we came onto this segment, but I really want to say Rebecca.
Same.
But I feel guilty. Yeah.
She's feeling guilty.
She's the best girl.
Okay.
But I feel a little bit guilty to say it because what happened was I was one of the people on the creative team to actually vote Rebecca out of the original cast during pre-production.
I wouldn't admit to that.
What happened was that CD Projekt Red first got the character design for Rebecca, and they were like, she's a Loli. Lolis don't exist in Night City. It doesn't fit the Cyberpunk 2077 aesthetic. But Trigger was like, no, the Loli must stay.
The Loli must stay. That's hilarious. So they said that the clip was lighthearted. It was, but that's the thing too. Like, I don't know how much she pushed for the censorship of Rebecca, or she's joking around because her team pushed for it. But a lot of times these people, we've seen them on Twitter and we've seen them, out there, and they're kind of like very jokey, like, oh, she's so sexy. We can't have that. You misogynist, you racist, tee hee hee hee. And the reality is yeah, they actually want censorship. I'm not saying she does in particular, but, Studio Trigger, who is incredibly successful, says, yeah, this character is going to be popular. This character needs to stay. Then you freaking listen. You listen because they know what they're doing, and we're gonna talk about the benefits of listening to Studio Trigger. That the sales of Cyberpunk 2077, a game that was, dog piled for being dog shit when it first came out because they released it too soon. It was buggy as hell. They had to pull it out of the PlayStation Store. The only way you could even run this game decently is if you had a pretty good gaming rig, and most people wanted to play it on like PS4 or whatever. After like a freaking, 10-year development time, their sales are through the roof now. Let's talk about this real quick. Admittedly, the show does go out of its way to establish that Rebecca is not a child as soon as she's introduced. Many fans have pointed out she also doesn't sound very childlike in the English dub, and she doesn't become a love interest during the show either. So what is the problem? Of course, it doesn't change the fact that her design is noticeably more petite and childlike to those around her. I love this. Rebecca isn't a Loli. She's just petite and small-chested. Have you never seen a small-chested petite woman before? Touch grass. Holy shit, not all women are tall and have big breasts. All of you all need to get out of your mom's basement. Holy shit, you MFers. Loli is any anime girl that is effing small and cute. Loli. This is funny. But yeah, even CD Projekt Red was like, no, we can't have this problematic character. So let's talk about the benefits of listening. Cyberpunk 2077 hit nearly 70,000 concurrent players on Steam, the highest player count it's had since it launched in 2020, 2021, January, a month after launch. This comes alongside the release of the anime Cyberpunk Edgerunners. CD Projekt has series game synergy like they did with The Witcher. Yeah, so maybe it's a good thing they listen to Studio Trigger. Now people are going back and playing Cyberpunk, which, as I understand it, we haven't played it in over a year, but as I understand it, they fixed a lot of shit with the game. The game's actually pretty decent now. It's more polished than it was when it first came out. I think they rushed it out. I mean, it sounds stupid that they were developing it for so long, but they rushed it out. But God, Cyberpunk has had so much drama around it because of it being, a disaster upon release. And then we had these kinds of people, the activist people out there being like, Cyberpunk is transphobic and Cyberpunk is racist, and the game was developed by a black guy. I'm just saying, You know, so we've had lots of controversy around Cyberpunk. This doesn't surprise me at all that we're going to have controversy around the anime series as well. But again, this is the mindset that a lot of people have about anime. You know, the troubling relationship between anime and fascism. From Sci-Fi Fangirls, a site that got shut down, by the way. Sci-Fi shut this site down, and we're starting to see a lot of these activist-minded pop culture sites getting shut down all over the damn place because it's very clear they do not speak for actual fandom. You know, people want the lolis to stay, not actual Loli. Rebecca's not a loli. I looked at her. I didn't see Loli. I saw Harley Quinn, you know, cybernetic Harley Quinn. That's what I see. But, you know, these kinds of people are basically getting pushed out of the industries because fans are voting with their wallets. They're voting with the view counts, and they're saying this is what we want. Again, this site got shut down because it was such a disaster. I mean, when you're going out there and looking for Nazis around every corner, well, here we go, guys, and saying that anime basically perpetuates fascism. It's like, you've got a problem. You've got a huge problem. But speaking of censorship and speaking of course correction, I think we did a video talking about Manga Up, which was Square's manga reader, their app, and for some reason they were putting black bars all over the art, sometimes in places where they didn't need to be any kind of cleavage, or I think curtains or something. They said that they put black bars on curtains, so they clearly had like an AI going through here and trying to do it. But they walked it back. They removed the black bars from all content, and I think it's just the pushback has been fierce. We're seeing more and more pushback against, you know, puritanical censorship, and I'm not talking like, you know, extreme stuff. I'm not talking like hentai. You know, look, you're talking, you know, anime characters doing what they've been doing for decades, being designed the way they've been designed for decades in mainstream anime. You know, PG-13, maybe R-rated stuff. It's been around for decades, but because it wasn't super popular until recently, the Karens weren't paying attention. The activists weren't paying attention. Activists pay attention to industries that are doing well. They pay attention to industries that are getting a lot of buzz, getting a lot of press, because they're like parasites. They want to latch on to the industry and ride it. And that's what happened with the nerd culture and the tabletop gaming and the Marvel stuff and all of that. We had people that basically wanted to build a platform for themselves and their hot takes using geek culture, nerd culture as kind of a Trojan horse. And it's so funny. I mean, CD Projekt Red clearly has people like that working for them, and Studio Trigger's telling them to go piss off. I think it's hilarious. I'm going to wrap this one up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We'll talk later.